Hey, what's up guys, welcome back. In this video, we'll create a new Unity project called the Unity 1, and in this project, I'll explain you the basics of Unity software. So for creating a Unity 1 project, I'll click on the new project button. I'll give this project a name of Unity 1. Next, since we are building a 3D project, I'll keep the 3D option selected. After this, I'll disable the Unity Analytics option. And next, as you can see, this is the location where the Unity project is stored inside my system, that is C/Dinesh folder. So after setting up all the parameters, next I'll click on the create button. And as you can see, my Unity 1 project has started building. So guys, as you can see, my Unity 1 project is built over here, and this is the user interface of the Unity software. And now let me explain you the meaning of some of these tabs which we have on the screen. On the left, we have the hierarchy tab, or we have the hierarchy panel. Inside the hierarchy panel, all the 3D and 2D game objects are listed. So the 3D components in Unity are called 3D game objects, and the 2D components are called sprites. Currently, there are two components inside a game, that is the main camera and the direction light. If I click on the main camera, you can see the main camera is highlighted over here and the direction light is basically highlighted over here. Neighboring to the hierarchy panel, we have the scene panel. So the scene panel is basically the panel inside which you can design or customize your game. That is, whenever we add a new game object inside a game, that game object is first placed inside the scene panel. We can modify the position, rotation and the scale of any game object from this panel. So let's add a 3D game object inside a scene and modify its values. Okay, so to add a game object, I'll click on this create button. After this, I'll go in 3D objects, and next I'll select this game object called as cube. So now as you can see, the cube game object is inside the scene panel and it is also listed inside the hierarchy. Currently, the position of the cube is 0, 0, 0. And that basically means the cube is placed at the universal center position. Okay, so guys, whenever you select any game object, the properties of that game object are seen inside this inspector panel. Okay, so the cube is selected and these are the properties of this cube. Next, let me show you how to change the position, rotation and the scale of the cube. So first, let's look at the position. So if you want to change the position of this cube, then for changing the position, I'll click on this tool, which is the position tool, and as you can see, when I click on this tool, we have this 3 arrows, and by selecting these arrows we can change the position of this cube. So currently the cube is at a position of 0, 0, 0, and by selecting any of these arrows you can move the cube in desired direction. Okay, so if you look very carefully, each arrow has a desired color. So the red color is for the x-axis, blue color is for the z-axis, and the green color is for the y-axis. And whenever you select any axis, so that selected axis turns into yellow color. So if you look very carefully, when I selected the y-axis, the color of the y-axis is changed from green to yellow. So that means the y-axis is selected. And to move this cube, I'll select this axis and I will just drag this axis up and down. Okay. Now guys, you can also notice one thing. When I move the cube, there is also a change in the position of y over here inside the inspector panel. Okay, so if I move the cube, you can see that there is a change in the position of y. Okay, now I'll click on Ctrl Z so that the cube comes at its default position of 0, 0, 0. Okay, or maybe I'll just change it to 0 over here. Now after explaining you the position tool, next, neighboring to the position tool, we have the rotation tool. So let's look at the rotation tool. So guys, as you can see, when I click on the rotation tool, instead of seeing arrows, we are now seeing these spherical lines. Okay, and each spherical line represent your x, y and z axis. So to rotate the cube, I'll simply select any one of the spherical lines and I'll just move my mouse. When I rotate the spherical lines, please keep an eye on the rotation of the x, y and z axis. So I've selected one of these lines over here, and when I move, you can see the sphere is rotating and there is a change in the y-axis. Similarly, if I select this red line, which is for the x-axis, and if I drag this line, you will see that there is a change in the rotation of x-axis. Okay, so guys, this is how you can rotate any game object. And I'll again click on Ctrl Z so that the rotation of the cube is 0, 0, 0. And after explaining you the rotation tool, next let's look at the 3D scale tool. Now guys, if you look neighboring to the rotation tool, we have this 3D scale tool, and neighboring to the 3D scale tool, we have the 2D scale tool. So first, let's look at the 3D scale tool. Now guys, if you look very carefully, that when I clicked on the 3D scale tool, instead of having 3 arrows, we have these 3 cubes of red, green and blue color. We also have one gray cube in the center of this cube. So basically, if you want to change the scale of any game object, then you have to select any of this cube and you need to move your mouse towards the left side or the right side. So let me show you how this is done. Now, if you want to change the scale of any game object equally, then you have to click on the cube which is on the inner side, that is the gray cube. So as you can see, when I clicked on that gray cube, the color of that cube is changed to yellow. That means that this inner cube is selected. And since I want to increase the scale of this cube, I'll just drag my mouse on the right side. And you can also notice one thing. When I'm dragging my mouse outside, there is a change in the scale of the cube, and this change is equal. Okay, so previously the scale of the cube was 111, and right now the scale of the cube is 1.804, and this value is constant among the x, y and z axis. So if I select this axis and if I drag the mouse on the right side, you can see over here that the cube is increasing equally from all the 4 sides. Okay, so I'll click on Ctrl Z and I'll again change the scale to 1. And now let me show you how you can increase the scale from any one axis. Okay, so guys, if suppose you want to increase the scale of only the Z axis, then you need to select the blue color cube, okay, which represents the Z axis, and then you need to drag this cube towards the outer side. And as you drag the cube, you can see the scale of this cube is also increasing. So guys, this is how you can use the 3D scale tool. Now guys, you can also change the position, rotation and the scale of the cube directly from the inspector panel. That is, if I change the position of X to 1, if I change the position of Y to 2, and if I change the position of Z to 3, so this is the new position of the cube. Okay, similarly, if I change the rotation of X to 45, Y to 45 and Z to 45, so as you can see, the cube has now rotated by 45 degrees from all the 4 sides. Okay, similarly, if you want to increase the scale of the cube to some random value, then you can type that value inside the scale over here. Okay, so I'll reset the values again. Now next, let's see how we can look at the cube from all the sides. So guys, in Unity, you can look at any game object from all the 6 sides. That is, currently we are able to see the cube from this side, but we can also rotate the cube and see what is there on the other side. Now to rotate the cube, you have to click on the Alt key. So for people who are using Windows, you have to click on the Alt key. After that, you have to click the left mouse button and then you have to move your mouse. Okay, now guys, please look very carefully. When I click on the Alt key, you will see the mouse icon has changed. After this, I'll click on the left mouse button and then I'll move my mouse. Okay, now for people who are using Mac, you have to click on the Options key, and after this you have to click on the left mouse button and then you have to move your mouse. Okay, now guys, after looking at the scene panel, next let's look at the game panel. So inside the game panel, you can basically see this cube. That is, you're able to see your game, and whatever you see inside the game panel is basically through the eye of the main camera. Okay, so currently as you can see, okay, so I'll zoom out a little bit, and as I was saying, so currently as you can see, the main camera is basically projecting on the cube, and since the main camera is projecting on the cube, we are able to see the cube inside a game panel. By default, the main camera is kept at a position of x0, y1 and z -10. Okay, and that's the reason why you will see the main camera is a little away from the cube. Now, if you look on the top, we have the play, pause and the forward button. Okay, so guys, whenever you want to preview your game, you have to click on this play button. Okay, so I'll click on this play button and let's see what happens once I click on the play button. Now guys, as you can see, I have clicked on the play button, and since the play button has turned to blue, so that basically means the play button is activated. But as you can see, nothing is happening right now, and that is because we have not done anything inside a game. So guys, I'll basically stop over here. So I hope from this video you would have understood some of the basic tabs or some of the basic panels which we have in Unity, like the hierarchy, scene and the game tab. Now in the next video, I'll introduce you to the concept of physics in Unity, and we will also see how to move game objects inside Unity.